These videos have been discussing the impact of two new discoveries, neuroplasticity and mental time travel, which are hot areas of research right now in neuroscience. However, I have been teaching about mental time travel and neuroplasticity since the early 1980s, and where I learned about neuroplasticity 15 years before the scientists discovered it was reading a book by Wallace Wattles written in around 1910, where he talks about the ability to focus your attention and change your brain by growing new brain cells. This is now a scientific fact called neuroplasticity. But before the scientists discovered it, it was considered woo-woo metaphysical jazz, and very few people paid any attention to it. This video from November 16th is Greg and I talking about neuroplasticity. Like I've experienced it with learning language, but I've also experienced it by doing affirmations and things, where all of a sudden something that you're trying to learn or some affirmation that you're trying to get into your head, you're trying to reprogram your belief system, that at first you have to kind of work at it. You write affirmations like the affirmation principle, where you write down why you don't believe it and sort of logically work through it. And then all of a sudden, it just happens and you go, oh, now it's true, right? Kehoe talks about this too, my friend Kehoe. He was using this affirmation, I have unlimited power at my disposal. He said, he did it every day for took around 70 days or something. And he said, some days it was good, it felt good, hey, I have unlimited power. And other days he said, he said it felt like he was lying to himself, like, this is, what are you doing here? What are you trying to play with there? You don't have any power.
Right.
But he said then, but he kept doing it, did it every day. And he said all of a sudden, he woke up one night after about 70 days or something. And he said it was like, it just hit him like a ton of bricks. I have unlimited power. It was a reality, right? So I know that with neuroplasticity, they can detect changes in around 3 weeks. But that doesn't mean to say that your whole belief system is going to change in 3 weeks. I mean, it depends on what you're working on, if you, like, I described how I changed my belief system around relationships and love. My world is full of loving relationships.
Uh-huh.
You remember that story?
Yes.
Where I was on the bus there, all of a sudden I realized, hey, it's true, So there's a good example, I think, of how it can happen with neuroplasticity, because what happened with that idea of my world is full of wonderful relationships or loving relationships. I was doing the affirmation every day, and just as a sort of a routine, I didn't know what to expect. And then when it happened, and the first time I noticed it was on the bus, right? Well, with the bus driver.
Yeah.
Or at least after I got off the bus. And then I noticed it later walking into the bank and then in a restaurant and that sort of thing. So over a period of maybe a month or 6 weeks, if I could look inside my brain, I would probably be able to see that there were little collections of neurons. They use this term neural network, right?
Right.
So the idea of like walking into a bar and getting the impression that I have a loving relationship with everybody in this bar, which is one of the things that I thought after about 6 weeks or something. Well, you can imagine that my previous
thoughts, my previous neural network of beliefs and attitudes and feelings and emotions around walking into a bar would be fairly complicated.
Right.
Like, you typically walk into a bar, you don't know anybody, you sort of feel like a little awkward, maybe a little out of place. If you're a single guy, like I was at the time, you might be looking around for a single woman or something, someone to chat up,
Mm-hmm.
So you have a whole collection of different thoughts and attitudes and feelings and emotions and things going on. So it might take a while for that idea to sort of rewire itself, but it definitely did. It definitely rewired itself. And now that's part of my belief system. That's like my reality. Of course, I have a loving relationship with 8 billion people approximately, right?
Right.
So depending on the situation, it might take a little longer. And with languages, it was kind of a similar pattern. When I was learning Chinese or trying to learn Chinese, I banged my head against a brick wall for a long time, months, because it was so different, right? It was like nothing I'd ever experienced before.
Right.
So for many months, I didn't understand anything, and it was really frustrating. And then at some point, I started to recognize, one or two words. And then after a while, I noticed that if I didn't really pay attention, if I just sort of let the people talk, that my mind would sort of pick up the meaning of what they were talking about, without me really doing anything. And that's kind of how it is now, because my wife, she's talking Chinese all day long, right? She's always on the phone. She's got a bunch of friends that she chats with online or over the phone. And, lots of times I can tell what they're talking about. So it kind of happens automatically. I had an experience one time that kind of relates, I think. I'm not sure how it relates. I'm not sure if it's neuroplasticity or not, like rewiring your brain. But I took a speed reading course one time when I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
And the average person reads around 250 words a minute, I think, which is sort of grade 7 level. Because that's how we learn to read. We learn to read when we're young, grade 3, 4, 5, 6.
Right.
And so that's how we read for the rest of our life, unless we change it, right? So this idea was to learn this speed reading technique, which was to take in like a whole page at a time, just a boom, And so they had this machine called a tachistoscope. And what it was a special machine that would flash like a sentence on the screen for a tenth of a second or something like that, just boom,
Right.
And if you tried to read it, you couldn't read it because it was too fast. But if you didn't try and read it, if you just sort of relaxed, opened your eyes and just looked at the screen, that what happened was these words, boom, 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 they would come so fast. And then eventually it was like a sentence. So it might be 6 or 8 words. And that would flash on the screen for a tenth of a second or something. And so if you just relaxed and opened your eyes, you weren't really reading it, but somehow it was going in. So that was a real eye-opener. And so when they tested my speed reading at the end of that course, and the course was like one night a week for 4 weeks or something, it wasn't a long thing.
Uh-huh.
I think I was reading at 3,000 words a minute. So my reading speed had gone up like, what's that, 12 times over or something, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's huge.
So what I learned from that was that if you just kind of relax and open your eyes, which is more or less what we do, I guess, when we're watching a movie, then your mind can pick up a lot of stuff that you are not necessarily consciously aware of.
Yeah, it's kind of subliminal,
Yeah,
almost. You know,
yeah,
I took a similar class back when I was in high school, and I think I read about 1,250 now,
yeah,
1,250 words per minute, which is pretty fast. I haven't tested it in a while. Could be a little higher, but probably around that range. But you know, it's incredibly fast. To be 3,000 is really
well, yeah.
high.
I doubt that I'm reading 3,000 words a minute now, but I could probably read 1,000 words, like you're saying,
Yeah.
because you just get used to it, right?
Yeah, I mean it's
And
just well, and I skip, you know, you skip the it says he said, she said. After a while, you get the cadence of the conversation and back and forth, and it might say he said softly, ba ba ba, you know,
yeah,
quotation. You might miss the softly a little bit, but I'm able to read the sentence and skim through and pick up, the gist of a conversation back and forth. Okay, got it. I don't have to
yeah,
read all the
yeah,
things and do that pretty quickly. So I could probably up it doing that, particularly it matters what kind of reading. I mean, if you're reading a scientific journal, it's going to be a little different than if you're reading, kind of a novel. But yeah, it's
yeah. Well,
interesting,
yeah. If you think about, I mean, that's reading, of course, which is kind of a unique thing. But
right?
if you imagine, for example, like a boxer, right?
Uh-huh.
Or even someone like a tennis player or some of those sports where things happen fast, you know,
Right.
they have to be at the place, they have to have their senses somehow attuned so that they can figure out where that ball is coming on the serve, which might be 110 miles an hour or something, or even more. I think some of those serves are like 140 miles an hour. They have to be able to react so quick. And so here's John coming in. I'm not sure who it is, but
Oh, it was John that we talked to from the Midwest, I think.
yeah, there was a John earlier.
He was kind of visiting us. I think that
Yeah. So it's your mind can just pick up so much information so fast.
yeah. Well, it's recalibrating, right? Um, which
Well,
is
I
kind of
think you just
interesting.
get used to, you pick up different clues and things, right?
Yes.
Hey, John.
Hey, greetings from South Carolina.
All
Hey,
right.
greetings.
So you're the
So,
insurance guy?
Yes, last time we spoke, I was at home in Texas, and my gosh, they had Hurricane Helene here that hit inland all the way up through South Dakota, or I'm sorry, South Carolina, North Carolina, and beyond Georgia. So
yeah.
I've been insurance adjusting for 6.5 weeks, and I just got released from my deployment. And tomorrow I head to Hilton Head, South Carolina to spend a couple of weeks and enjoy the golfing and the coast.
Before the
So
next hurricane hits.
I'm rewarding that myself.
Well, I thought
Yeah,
about you.
well,
I thought about
it
you a
might
couple
not
of
be
times
long.
recently because there's been so many storms and things happening in the States. I thought, gee, I bet you he's busy now.
Yeah, it's been good. So business is good and time off is the reward. So we had
Great.
talked about several different things. And I remember you, sir, let's see, your name is
Greg?
Oh, Greg. Yeah, you're talking about me. Yep. Greg.
Greg. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see my name has changed there on the screen. I didn't realize that this time it doesn't
Yeah, it
have.
looks like Gandera, right?
Gandera, that's my first initial last name, but let's see. I could probably change
Yeah,
that.
so I
Yeah.
remember you from our probably the first time I had a conversation with Anthony. I think I had purchased his course and heard him on the radio, so that was quite interesting. There's another fella with a beard, and he looked like he might have been a Southern gentleman, and he was on as well. But I know you'd like to see me, but I got an email, half an hour ago, and clicked on it, and I'm relaxed in my motorhome, have not dressed to be out in public. Last thing I thought when I clicked on that link is that I'd be in front of 3 other people and expected to have my camera on. So anyway,
Well, it's up
That's
to you.
fine.
it's
You
nice
know,
to talk to y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice to talk to you.
it's nice to see
Yeah,
your face. Um, so yeah, how have you made out with that course?
I'm enjoying it. And I'm going to get a chance to practice again daily, which is what it takes. But no, I've got it right here by my bed, by all my reading and things that I do. And uh, I think we had talked about a potential new income source for me and
Get rid of this.
establishing close personal relationships.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are you making out with that?
Yeah. So I have been studying for the last 3 months, day trading on the S&P, and I have a couple of really fine and very successful mentors. So every day when I was working, I'd spend at least 3 hours a day on it. I'd find time early in the morning. And so that's coming along fine. And there's a possibility I'll maybe be able to match what I make insurance adjusting in the near future. So that's great. As far as the close personal relationships, well, because I travel by RV, I like to find unique places to stay, and I've befriended a family that owns 14 acres of land in Texas, north of Houston. And wonderful family, get to meet the kids, the grandkids, and they have a lot of friends, very unique people. So I guess you could call that a win for social contacts, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Congratulations.
well you can call it whatever you want, but certainly calling it a win is better than calling it a failure. You know, no, it's
I
true. I
agree.
mean, it's just how you label it is important. So I would take an affirmation, something like, because an affirmation is just like a positive way of framing things, right? So you could say something like, my opportunity for wonderful relationships is expanding.
Absolutely.
Something like that, right? And just
Yeah,
sort of think about that, write
I
that
had,
down, maybe put it on a card on your wall so you can see it, just so you feed your mind that thought.
yeah,
And then once your mind accepts the fact that you have lots of ideas for, lots of opportunities for interesting relationships and it's expanding, then that will be the one that takes over, as opposed to a thought like, I don't have time for a relationship because I'm too busy. You know what I mean?
yeah. Hopefully that too busy nonsense will be out of my life soon. But I did find one woman. I showed up at her house to inspect for storm damage, and we enjoyed talking. And I said, I'm only in town for maybe a month and a half. I don't know anybody. Love to, enjoy a nice meal or coffee together if you'd like. And she said, yeah, give me a call anytime. So, because I'm an insurance adjuster doing a job that has legal restrictions, they kind of frown on fraternizing until at least the claim is closed,
Right.
because I don't want, and she doesn't want somebody to say, hey, John gave her favorable treatment, or maybe the opposite for whatever reason. So, but anyway, we went out, had a nice time, had Thai food, and walked around a music festival with 5 different stands in historic Spartansburg, South Carolina. And I got all the way to North Carolina about 90 miles in, and boy, they really, really got the brunt of the storm. Um, some people weren't able to leave their community because they're all windy, Smoky Mountain roads, right?
Right.
And switchbacks, and then you get to the top of this mountain, and it's a beautiful tourist community, or just a nice vibe, and that was great to see. Wonderful.
Well, in some
I don't know if
ways,
you've been to
yeah, in some ways,
I
it
don't know if
sounds
you've been
like
to the Carolinas.
you're in a great job. I mean, you get to travel, you get to meet all kinds of people, you have an income that travels with you.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, of course, you're dealing with people that are having tragedies happen in their lives, right? Their lives are being turned upside down.
Yeah, and when you meet a lot of people throughout the day, but their customers and not your friends or family, that's sometimes a little bit lonesome being on the road this much.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure everybody can relate to that.
But now, I don't know what to expect in Hilton Head. I probably wouldn't even know what Hilton Head was if it wasn't for the PGA golf tournaments that are on TV from there. But I think I'm going to enjoy that. The lighthouses and the coastline, even though it is coming into winter, it should be beautiful.
Right.
And after that, I want to go up to Nashville. And I enjoyed the Grand Ole Opry. That was fantastic. You ever been?
I've never been there, no.
I think you'd find it very interesting. Part of the country.
Oh, I'm sure I would.
Yeah.
I haven't been to the States too much. I've been to California and Oregon and Washington.
That doesn't count.
But I
That doesn't count.
I haven't been on the East Coast, and I spent, just a little bit of time in, literally like a weekend or something in Minneapolis,
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm from Iowa, just I grew up 2 hours drive away from Minneapolis, so I know the area well.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
And
know
if you flew through in the wintertime, you probably didn't see much.
Well, I'm glad you're getting something out of that course. What we've been talking about, Greg and I, quite a bit over the last little while. Have you been watching any of the videos that we post on YouTube?
Oh God, no. Nope. I'm sorry. I've been out of the loop. So that's
Well,
why
it
this
doesn't
is a
matter.
great reunion.
It
Yeah,
doesn't
they
matter.
keep me busy 16 hours a day. So
Yeah.
now is my time to catch up. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was just saying, if you were to watch some of those, you'd find out that one of the things that we talk about a lot, it's a principle that I learned years ago, and I learned it in the context of taking a course, and what it was called was the magic of spaced repetition. Well, now they have this new discovery that they just found about 25, 30 years ago called neuroplasticity, which is the idea that your brain is always continually changing and you're always learning new things, or at least you can learn new things, and that it really doesn't matter what you try to learn, whether it's a new attitude, a new belief, a new course, a new language, that the secret to it is repetition. So the fact that you have that course, you can listen to those videos and those lectures over and over again. And once you finish the course, you can just start it again. And it works just as good or better the second time. So repetition is really the key. As long as you keep doing even a little bit, on a regular basis, watching the video, playing with the workbook, listening to the meditation recordings, you'll keep on getting results. And the results seem to compound over time.
Yeah, somebody tries a therapeutic remedy of some sort once and it feels good. And then the next day they say, hey, I guess it didn't work. Well, that's
Exactly.
It's a practice. It's a lifestyle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have just earlier this morning, it's been really productive, especially for this kind of conversation. I watched, are you familiar with Andrew Huberman? He's a famous podcaster on.
I think I know the guy from YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I listened to him and they were talking about neuroplasticity. They were talking about my issue, the importance of meaningful relationships and lots of them,
right,
as opposed to none of them. And let's face it, even if you have one good friend, how much time do busy working people have for 10, right?
Well, it's interesting. You just said none, right? And so I used to think I didn't have any relationships. Well, now I think I have 8 billion relationships.
And
most of them, of course, most of them, of course, with people I don't know. But the idea that you have none, I think what that will tend to do is it will tend to make you blank on the relationships that you do have. So if you change none to some, or better still, change it to growing. I have a growing number of relationships, then that will focus your mind on the fact that you do have relationships, even though some of them might be fleeting or, they might be intermittent, right? Like I have a relationship with a friend of mine I went to high school with. He lives in New Zealand. Well, I've only seen him about a half a dozen times in the last 40 years. But he's a relationship of mine. We exchange messages now and again. We have the odd telephone conversation. We send emails back and forth. So he's still a big part of my life, or at least I should say a definite part of my life, even though we don't see each other very often. So the idea that you have some relationships as opposed to none, I think is a good switch to make. It's a good, change to make.
Thank you.
Because you have a relationship with us. I mean,
there you go.
It's and another thing I learned about relationships is they're all unique, right? Like my relationship with you, for example, John, is unique, right? I mean, what we have in our relationship is different from what I have in my relationship with, let's say, Greg, even though they're both online relationships. Greg and I know each other better because we've interacted a number of times. So I have a relationship with you. You have a relationship with me. And if you open up your mind to the fact that it is a relationship, even though we've only spoken a few times, then that sort of allows your mind to go, oh, okay, well, if that's what a relationship is, then you have relationships with these people and this person, So language is important, because if you say I have no relationships, then you tend to not notice the ones that you do have. Greg, you have any comments there?
I'm taking some notes. No, I think that one of the things I was looking at is that there's in Anthony's book, Mind, Time, Power, he talks about process. Everything's a process, and I think as we have relationships, they can be in different phases of the process. I mean, the lady you met was just a work encounter, and then you took her to dinner, and you got to know her a little bit. Maybe you still have an ongoing opportunity to call her or see her again, or I don't know if you could meet her somewhere in between, or just even talk as companions. Doesn't have to be necessarily a romantic one, but it could be one that's a friendship relationship, encourage each other, or different things like that. I mean, a lot of, now we have virtual relationships with all kinds of people where we can be in different clubs or meetups, and some of those online, whether it's a book club or a Bible study or, whatever that might be, or a recovery group. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can see your process of developing relationships and friends. And I think that Anthony's perfectly right in terms of the way you speak to yourself about it is going to change your enthusiasm or your excitement about where you're at in the process. When you say my relationships are improving all the time, that's very empowering. Makes you want to get excited and say, hey, I'm finally getting it. I'm at this age and I'm finally getting that I have it. Not only am I building new relationships, but I'm reclaiming old ones. Who did I go to high school with? Oh, I'm connected with them on Facebook. Well, pinging them and saying, how you doing? I saw you're going through a tough time. Could rekindle that relationship, from the Alumni Association or whatever it is, insurance adjusters, group. I mean, all those things are there for the having if you change the way you think about it. But if you, box
no, actually,
yourself.
I'm taking a lot of progress. In fact, the Huberman episode was discussing how attachment to your, formative months and years causes certain attachment, anxious attachment or avoidant attachment, issues with human relationships. And so that's what I've been studying and working on, and actually making pretty good progress, I think.
Good.
I guess I forgot the purpose of this group. I feel like you're trying to cure me or diagnose me somehow. But actually, it's interesting because I'm not used to talking in these terms. So language is important to be able to express yourself in a way that you feel like you can either be judged or not judged, and I don't care because I'm just presenting what I'm going through.
Right. Well, I think sometimes for me, I'm trying to re-remind myself even of these principles as we're talking, because I have similar things going on in my life that are in different phases. And so as I'm talking to you, I'm realizing the power I have to control that. Anthony's kind of little touch on a comment you made when you said I have none. I think he was kind of correcting that. I don't know if he was trying to correct it, but
Well,
um,
yeah, I don't know. Are you married?
I am. Uh-huh.
Okay, so you sleep in a bed with your wife every night.
Yes.
All right, that's different than a single person. That is a close personal relationship. Do you have family come over for Thanksgiving, or do you
Sometimes I
get
do.
invited?
Sometimes I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't. So that's kind of a big thing, and you need to come to the realization that when you have no close personal relationships, as in, you have activity partners and people who share interests and hobbies, but you don't have that close family, it is something that you need to realize that I have so many other wonderful blessings, just a wonderful life in so many ways. And I think it's just getting better and better, but I don't have that. And so that is what I'm working on. And I think I've, I identified a cruise for, it's put on by the Food Revolution Network. It's all about healthy eating and diet and how important that is to our well-being. And it's voted one of the top 100 cruises for educational resources and entertainment and social function. So that's going to be a wonderful thing to look forward to. And, on top of the lectures and healthy eating and the travel, I should probably meet some really great women.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad just came off a cruise last week. He did the same thing.
Yeah.
He went on a
I've never been
cruise
on a
and
cruise before.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think he
Well, of course,
did it.
there are people too, John, that have family relationships that are not good. A lot of people's family relationships cause them a lot of angst or discomfort or pain or something. So, we're all unique, right? We
Yeah,
all have different kinds of relationships. But the thing about relationships that I notice is that number one, they can grow in intimacy and friendship, right? Like that lady that you were talking about that you met recently and went for dinner. You could just send her a text message. I mean, now with all the technology we have, it's easy to send a text message and say, "Hey, was just thinking about you. Hope you're doing well." That might mean something to her. I'm sure it will mean something, right?
yeah.
So,
I shared some photos. I shared some photos of my travels last
mhm,
year through Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Park and some
wow.
videos. So we're kind of exchanging our tastes in music through sharing videos.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. So, yeah, like I say, every relationship is different, right? And you mentioned the purpose of this group. Well, to me, the purpose of the group is to give people some tips and techniques of becoming a little more conscious of how their thinking affects their quality of their life
Absolutely.
and various ways that I've learned, of improving that. So that's really the purpose of the group, I think, is
Oh,
to.
I see. So you actually were paying attention to my language and exact words. And so I thank you for bringing that to my attention. You're absolutely right. And people can have negative self-talk. They can have a terrible inner critic.
Oh, I think it's more or less universal. And from information that I've been able to read or hear about, the vast majority of it is negative. I mean, there are people that have self-talk that just beats them up over and over again. I mean, I've had phases in my life when I was in my teens and 20s, for example, when when I was beating myself up all the time with negative self-talk and negative thoughts, negative attitudes. So learning how to, well, first of all, becoming aware of it, I guess that's the first step. And then realizing that you can change it, you can affect it, you know. One of the things that you have in your workbook as a part of that course that you have of mine
Got it right here.
is,
You can even
there you go.
skip
So look at
page number.
look at that past successes list.
Past successes.
Have you seen that one? Have you paid any attention to that?
Oh, I think I have. And in fact, I've got several pages of notes,
Oh, okay.
and I'd have to go through them, and I could while we're on here. I think I put more of what I want to attract. And oh my God, I filled up one page, and then the next day I came up with a whole bunch of new things. So that's pretty cool.
It is cool.
And my
Yeah.
financial goals. I I don't know, Greg, if you uh are involved in any kind of investing or anything like that, but trading futures is a very specialized uh talent. And most people they say, well, they're lucky or they had inside information. No, it's scientific. And I don't know if you're familiar with what's called Elliott wave theory, Fibonacci numbers. All of these things kind of are just a mathematical and visual way of describing how human behavior works in the market. That's all it is. And it comes and goes in patterns. So, I thank you both for being part of my becoming healthier and happier, more prosperous, having great relationships in my life phase of my life. A lot of people have that, and it does not become a priority for them to feel like there's anything they can do to improve it. But, you know, your teachings and other teachings very similar, uh, totally say the opposite. And I guess I'm living proof.
Yeah. Well,
But it
thanks
does
very much
take
for that.
time. Hmm.
Yeah, it does take time. It's a growth process. I look at it like an apple tree. I have an apple tree upstairs. I planted it from a seed. I was eating an apple one day, so I took one of the seeds out and I sprouted it. Well, that apple tree now is about 6 inches tall, right?
That is cool.
It's not exactly a tree, but
Should try
if
that with an avocado. I
yeah,
did
but
that once
but
with an
if it
avocado. It looks
survives,
great.
if it survives, like next spring, I'm probably gonna put it outside and plant it in the yard, and it might. I think it takes 3 years to produce apples from a seedling like that.
I don't
But
know if you could grow avocados. But I tried that with the avocado. I had a wonderful avocado.
yeah,
They don't grow in Iowa. They don't grow in Canada. And put it in water, suspended it,
yeah,
and it sprouted. And then put it in a pot, and it grew 3 foot high. And then, gee, I don't know. I'm a kid, so it remained in my grandmother's basement and probably withered away eventually. But I think it could have, if we lived in the tropics, they grow them down here in the South. So
yeah. Well, one of the principles that I advocate is the law of growth. I mean, you've heard about the law of attraction,
sure.
probably. Well, the law of growth is a similar idea, right? It's like a universal law, they call it, right? And so the bottom line is that things can grow. So my apple seed is just an example of that.
So
Relationships can grow, knowledge
as
can grow,
as
even
it
even
turns out,
even even attitudes like peace of mind and self
absolutely.
confidence, they can grow. And so that's one of the purposes of that past successes list, is to write down memories you have of times that made you feel good, that you did something that was a win, let's say, right? And the more you think about that, the more you read that list over and focus on it, you find that you can actually cultivate. There's another term for the law of growth. You can cultivate your personality, cultivate your confidence, cultivate your relationships, right?
Absolutely. As it turns out, all of your words are proved by science and psychology and human behavior and how the growth happens. For instance, people that are not getting the kind of nurturing in childhood have a stunted amygdala. Now, as it turns out, gosh, when I was going through high school, they said, all your major organs can regrow cells except for the brain. Now they know that's not true.
Right.
They say, well, if you engage in drinking, then you're killing brain cells. That may be. I'm not saying that's an excuse
you
for
have a few
drinking.
billion, you can
Yeah,
spare a couple.
but the amygdala is very, very important for emotional regulation. And if you don't have that, you can't modulate with another person.
Oh yeah,
So,
that's exactly.
then they call it an illness and they send you to a doctor. I think they used to call it borderline personality disorder.
Right.
Now they call it CPTSD. They know it's an actual it's an actual diagnosable and treatable thing. But they only entered it into, I think, the DSM-5 2 years ago. So anyway, that's another story.
Yeah.
But
well, this idea that you can cultivate your beliefs, I learned that first of all from a book that I read that was written in about 1910. And because I think you probably heard the story of me having this dream when I was 10, right?
Yes.
Where I saw my future. So, that was such an impactful experience for me that I spent a lot of years trying to figure out how it could happen. And in the meantime, put together this theory, of how your mind works in the past and works in the future, i.e. the past successes list. You can find success and happiness and confidence in the past, the same as you can anticipate it in the future, right?
I think they call that the multiverse.
Yeah, well, the multiverse is, the idea that that there's different realities,
Yeah, it's interdimensional.
Yeah, that's right.
Now,
and so
I feel that the spiritualists and the New Agers have kind of hijacked that theory and not pushed it forward. Because
now it's becoming more scientific. As I was saying, the place that I first learned about neuroplasticity was in this book that was written in 1910.
Yeah.
That was considered to be a ridiculously stupid idea. But now it's accepted, they call it neuroplasticity, right? So now it's science. Before it was called mysticism or something.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Sounds to me like you're on the right track.
I feel I'm on the right track. Feels good.
I'm glad you phoned, or I'm glad you, dialed in, whatever you want to call it. You zoomed in, right?
Yeah. Hey, I just clicked.
Okay.
I literally just clicked.
We would love to have you join us in this online community for $1 a day. You get your own PDF copy of the book upon which this entire training series is based, along with 2 powerful meditation visualization recordings. You also get a free copy of this Design Your Life workbook and a 4-hour video course that tells you how to use it to change your life step by step. You get lifetime access to all of this on day 1, and you can cancel your registration at any time. Simply go to www.anthonyhamilton.org and click the link to join the online community.